Ignore the noise is the title of this video, and the reason is because it's been a pretty volatile, insane market the last week. I came back from Japan into a Friday where things were pretty nuts. So I basically landed during this day here on Friday. And when I looked at the charts for the first time, it was at the close, and I saw where we were. I watched it drift down after hours and then come back up a little bit, and I thought, it's probably going to gap down tomorrow, but I want to get some now. And so I bought some SPY and QQQ in the after hours on Friday as a starter swing, just because it's insanely below the ranges that I watch, right? This green line here, or the green zone here, is my average amount down that it gets to at extremes. So we were so far extended below that even here on the Friday that I thought if it goes lower and we gap down, I'm going to add to that position and on betting on the mean reversion, even if it just gets back up to the mean, the 4-hour EMA 12 being the mean that I'm looking at. And the next day, it did gap down, and then on the open, I was waiting to buy it, shot down, and then started to shoot back up. I didn't even get a chance to buy. It was all so fast, and then it basically shot right through where I'd entered, and I sold a portion at the top, right at the tippity top of that move when it slowed down on the 1 minute time frame. I watched the stair step and then sold a portion, and then I just swang it, and I sold another portion here on Wednesday. Just gave me no reason to sell more. I did the same thing with QQQ. So those were some pretty big positions that I traded. And I didn't really do much actual trading other than watching. I tried to do intraday trades. I tried to get hedges on and stuff, but I kept getting stopped out because the volatility was so wild that it was doing stuff that I wasn't expecting. So my wins weren't as big as I would have liked because I was trying to hedge in an environment where the moves were so outsized that you just got stopped too easily. So I'm looking at this what's occurred since I started trading this last just over a week ago, and I'm realizing that everybody's talking about, is the bottom in? People are making some pretty crazy statements about the bottom being in. So Shadow Trader, who I highly respect and watch all the time, stepped outside of the technical zone and just talked about fundamentals and made a fundamental case that the bottom is in. And I was pretty actually shocked by that because it goes against so much of what I've come to like about Shadow Trader, and that it's all about the technicals. So I'm here to tell you, for me personally, it is still all about the technicals. And I don't trade exactly like every other trader, but I definitely respect how they trade. And if you look at the technicals of this, what a lot of people look at if they're a trendline trader is, they're looking at something like this, right? They're looking at this saying, well, we're not out of the downtrend until we break this downtrending resistance on SPY. And I'm less concerned with that. What I look at this and think is, okay, well, we've got a very clear range that was built from basically here to here, right? So we've got this value area of price here that is sitting overhead. And this is sitting overhead on pretty much every name that I watch, okay? We've got it here on SPY. You can see it on QQQ. I've outlined the zone there. And all of this action that happened last week and into the week before, leading out of the week, all of this has occurred below that range, right? So, what are the chances we're going to get back above that and continue back to all-time highs? Well, let's think about the things that would need to happen in order for that to occur. Okay, so if I put the volume profile back on this, just give me 1 second, I'll pause my video. Okay, there it is. You can see, even if I hide my drawings for a second, look at all the volume that occurred here, right? So if you look at this on the right-hand side, you see all the volume that occurred here. All the volume down here, which, by the way, was insanely high. Look how much volume traded on this week. It traded across a very, very wide range. So what that means is that, yes, a lot of volume was traded during these days, but it wasn't all done within a specific area, right? So lots of people are positioned in this area, and in order to get through that spot, you're going to have to deal with the people doing things there, right? They're taking whatever action they need to take based on price getting back up there. Now, What are the Bulls' best shot to get back up there? Well, I think we've already obviously made a pretty amazing move here on, what was that, Thursday? No, Wednesday. This move on Wednesday was just insane. There's no other way to put it. It was insane. And it's taken now 2 days to digest that move. And we've seen on a bunch of names that I'm going to go over here in a minute, double inside days. So we had an inside day Thursday and another inside day Friday. Not all names did that, but many of them did. You can see here on QQQ, I think we just slightly broke above the high of Thursday on Friday, so it doesn't really count as double inside. But the point being, when I look at this, when there's a big move in the market like that, if I'm going to believe that move, it either has to be all bulls continuing moving the next day, just like gap and go and gap and go. And that's like insane market euphoria, animal spirits. Or what we got instead, which is, okay, we had a huge move. People still aren't really sure, but they're willing to hold and balance in that area. And then we got more balance in that area. And what happens when that occurs? Well, all the RSI levels that got extremely high and overbought when on this day, now they've had time to cool off. And so that gives us room to continue the move back up if we want to, right? And so from a bull perspective, I'm looking at this thinking, now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of stair stepping, or one time framing, as you might call it. So that's every day's low was higher than the prior day's low. So how long can we keep that up? We need to keep it up for as long as possible before we break the low of prior day and come in for that daily higher low, right? And the daily higher low is my favorite trade. It's the one that I've been practicing for years. And I'm hoping that if we do get a daily higher low, I will get that trade, and I will definitely be making an attempt on that trade based on, and why am I making an attempt on that trade? Because of the technicals, okay? So what I'm looking at is, here's the top of that range down to the bottom, right? So what's the retracement size that we've made from the top that we made up here on the last high to this low? Well, we've definitely retraced over 50%. 50% is right here. And so we definitely retraced over that 50%. That to me means that we have a much higher likelihood of this move working and us being able to get back above the top of this range. Now there's a ton of volume that traded there, so we need to deal with that volume. It's not going to be an easy path unless there's some crazy volatility that happens that drives us there. But that needs to happen if we're going to get back to all-time highs. And so I think that for me, what I'm watching is, I think the most likely scenario now is that we're going to try to make a move back up. How high do we get before we get there? I don't know. Are we going to keep stair stepping? I don't know. But when you have tightening like this, obviously volatility is incoming, right? So let's go over some of the names I'm looking at, starting with Walmart. So, that range from the prior week, we're already above that range here on Walmart. And so that's why this is at the top of my list for bullish moves. If we get bullish moves in the Qs and SPY, names like this, they don't have they do have friction, but they don't have as much friction as the others do, because all of this stuff that we did before, we're already above it. So that's why Walmart's on my list as one of the more bullish names. NVIDIA has been very strong as well. It's a little bit more of a mess. Let's look at all this volume that traded in this huge range all the way back here. So NVIDIA is in a tough spot to try to keep going up, but it's one of the names that I just trade very, very frequently. And so it's one that I'm going to be watching. So we have 5 days of stair stepping. The uptrend, we've broken the downtrend. Technically, the daily downtrend was like lower low, lower high, lower low. And then this high on Wednesday broke the high of the prior lower high. So we've technically broken the downtrend, and now we're seeing how high up we can get before we retrace for the higher low. So that's what I'm watching on for NVIDIA. PLTR is sort of still trading within this range that was building back then. So it's also a big mover when it makes moves. So this is one that I'm interested in as well. It's got double daily inside bars, so that's on watch for me. JPM had their earnings report. They're not actually stair stepping. See, like they actually did get a low over here, but it wasn't. That to me is not a daily higher low. I'd call it a rinky-dink low because it didn't set at the high before coming in to set that low. It's like the high and the low are set on the same day, so it doesn't really count as much to me. And then we had an inside bar and then more bullish. So this one needs to get back above this stuff, and the further up we can get into that before we come in for the true daily higher low, the better. And then let's talk about some of the weaker names. So Meta, to me, is definitely one of the weaker names. It's still below the prior day's balance back over here, and it already did break the low of this inside bar that was set on Thursday. So to me, if I'm going to be trying to play bearish, like say on Monday we started dropping for some reason and all the stair steps were breaking, this is a name I'd be interested in playing short because it is already weaker than all the others. Amazon, as double daily inside bar, is still below its range from back here. The retracement size, I mean, I did notice relative strength and I traded Amazon this week and did quite well in it day trading, but, or sorry, I should say last week. Anyway, I'm just interested in this, the double daily inside bars. I want to see where this one goes because I think Amazon can kind of lead here because it did lead at the beginning of last week and then it started flipping to relative weakness. I want to see if the bulls return. Last but not least, Tesla to me is a very interesting one because through all of the drop that we had last week, it held within the range that it's been holding. And it's got this very clear downtrending resistance on the daily time frame. And above the range that we've been in, there's not a lot of stuff, right? Look at the lack of volume here. So to me, if the market either set a quick daily high or low or just continued upwards, I think Tesla has the potential to break this downtrending resistance and really go. And so I have this on my list as like the orange means it could go either way to me. And I think if we got another leg down in the market, Tesla's gonna have to give up the ghost eventually, and this will be a hard drop if it eventually does, because there's definitely people who've been positioning here who will have to get out. And so that's one that I'm really interested. I think if we go bullish in the market, this thing can really rocket, and if we go bearish in the market, this thing can tank. And so this one I'm watching very, very closely. But that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I need to look at the names in terms of who has that resistance above them, who was able to hold on to it, and who has been able to break above that resistance and will be stronger if we do end up making the move back up. To me, I gotta say that the most likely scenario is the thing I've got to stick with, and I do that based on probabilities. So what's the probability that you see in front of you based on the moves that have been happening? Make that your guide to what you're going to do. This week, I don't actually know what I'm going to do at the beginning of the week. I want to let price show me, and my sense is, well, I'll look at the futures when they open here in a little bit, in a few hours here today. But my sense is that I do think that we're looking like we could go back up, but we might need to set those daily higher lows before we do it. But based on the retracement sizes that we've seen so far, that is the most likely scenario, at least in the short term. Longer term, monthly, weekly, that still remains to be seen. Are we going to get to all-time highs? I don't know, but I'm just looking for what's the next intraday move. All right, so good luck, everybody. I hope you have a great week.